Have you ever wondered why certain moments feel orchestrated, as if time itself paused to place a specific message in your path? Why, out of millions of possibilities flooding the digital ether, your awareness anchored itself here, right now, reading these exact words? This isn't a coincidence or mere digital suggestion. It is resonance meeting readiness. When consciousness aligns with the field of infinite intelligence, answers arrive disguised as subtle encounters, casual discoveries, or a quiet sense of "this is it." What you're sensing right now isn't content, it's coded awakening unfolding in real time. If this stirred something in you, honor the signal, like this message, and subscribe to the hidden manifestation. That simple gesture is not for vanity or numbers. It is a declaration to the quantum field that you are engaged, participating, present. Your choice to interact creates a micro-collapse of probability, a wave made real, a future self beginning to actualize in the now. Attention is not passive. In the quantum world, it is the first act of creation. When you interact from resonance, you participate in a new signal, one that reshapes not just your reality, but the algorithm of the universe. Most people scroll endlessly, seeking something they cannot name. Yet their nervous systems remain trapped in survival mode patterns, craving change while fearing transformation. But not you. You're not here by accident. You were guided by a frequency emitted long before you arrived, perhaps even before you consciously knew you were ready. The field always responds to coherence, not desperation, to alignment, not noise. When the inner frequency stabilizes, the external world rearranges itself to match it with mathematical precision. The mind believes it chooses what it sees, but in truth, it only recognizes what its frequency allows it to perceive. In quantum terms, you don't observe reality. Your observation generates reality from an ocean of probability. The version of the world you see is not the only version available. It is the one being selected by your dominant beliefs, emotional states, and unconscious identity. This means your attention is not just a lens. It is an energetic sculptor. Every moment you remain conscious, you rewire what is possible. Neuroscience now confirms what mystics have whispered for centuries. Your thoughts send signals, but your feelings anchor outcomes. The brain is electrical, but the heart is magnetic, and together they create a toroidal field that extends far beyond the physical body. When you think one thing but feel another, you create interference. But when your intention and emotion unify, you broadcast coherence into the quantum field, and coherence is irresistibly magnetic to possibility. The universe does not respond to words. It responds to vibrational signatures. This is why so many fail to manifest what they claim to desire. Because they desire from lack, they visualize from fear, and they speak about faith while vibrating in doubt. You cannot trick the field. You cannot deceive the mirror of creation. The quantum responds not to the image you paint, but to the energy behind the brushstroke. Your outcomes are not based on what you ask for. They are based on who you are while asking. The observer effect shows us that particles do not exist in fixed form until observed. Until then, they remain in superposition, a soup of infinite potential. This is not metaphor. This is foundational physics. When you apply this to your life, you begin to realize that nothing is fixed unless you believe it is. Belief collapses the wave. Identity becomes the projector. So, who are you while watching this? Who is the one observing the words, the sensations, the subtle energetic transmission flowing through your screen into your bloodstream? This isn't philosophical fluff. It's practical alchemy. Every belief you hold emits a signal. That signal filters your perception, dictates your expectations, and initiates a cascade of biological, psychological, and energetic effects that you experience as your reality. The unconscious mind, though powerful, is not evil. It is simply efficient. It runs 95% of your behavior, filtering trillions of bits of information every second, ensuring you remain consistent with your emotional conditioning. It does not manifest what is best for you. It manifests what is familiar to you. This is why most people recreate their past while longing for their future. They're trapped in a loop of energetic memory, rehearsing their trauma instead of rehearsing their transformation. But transformation begins the moment you observe differently. Observation, when stripped of judgment and infused with presence, becomes the highest form of creative power. You are not here to control every outcome. You are here to calibrate your signal. And your signal is not your wish. It is your truth. Not what you hope for, but what you believe you deserve. To change your reality, you must become the version of you who already lives in it. This is identity-based manifestation, not wishful thinking. It's not about acting as if for the sake of pretending, but embodying a new archetype so fully that the universe has no choice but to respond. The future doesn't wait. It responds. And every delay in reality is a delay in embodiment. If you can hold the emotional frequency of your future without seeing proof in the physical, you collapse time. This is not a trick of the mind. It is a shift in vibrational geometry. When you choose gratitude before the evidence, peace before the result, and love before the guarantee, you are demonstrating mastery over the matrix. You are no longer a prisoner of circumstance. You are a partner in creation. You are not manifesting random events. You are selecting timelines. Each emotional state corresponds to a parallel path. Anger takes you down one corridor. Compassion opens another. Victimhood loops you in repetition. Empowerment moves you into acceleration. Your life is not unfolding arbitrarily. It is unfolding according to the version of yourself you're most committed to being. Stillness is not stagnation. It is precision. The most powerful signals are the ones transmitted without noise, without frenzy, without fear. This is why silence is sacred. In stillness, you are not doing less. You are doing what matters most, recalibrating the frequency from which all creation emerges. This isn't just a message, it's a mirror, a map, and a moment of choice. You can return to your day and pretend this was merely interesting, or you can stay present and allow the shift to take root. Not by striving, not by forcing, but by choosing to stay open to what you've already begun to remember. The unconscious mind is a powerful archivist, keeping detailed records of every experience, emotion, and perceived threat you've ever encountered. It stores them, not just as memories, but as templates, emotional blueprints from which you unconsciously build your future moments. And because it seeks safety above expansion, it prefers repetition to reinvention, even when the patterns it preserves are no longer aligned with who you are becoming. You may consciously crave transformation, but if your subconscious still associates success with risk or visibility with danger, it will quietly sabotage your steps forward. This is not betrayal. It is an outdated protection program running without your permission. That is why most attempts to change fail, not due to a lack of effort, but a lack of internal congruence between desire and identity. When your conscious goals contradict your subconscious programming, inner conflict arises, and the body begins to resist the mind. You say you want abundance, but if your nervous system is conditioned by scarcity, your frequency will reject prosperity even as your thoughts try to attract it. The field listens to the deeper broadcast, not the surface noise. Change begins when all parts of you speak the same energetic language. That language isn't spoken in affirmations alone. It is encoded in the vibration of your beliefs, the consistency of your actions, and the emotional atmosphere of your inner world. To shift the field, you must first shift the frequency of your being. You must identify the beliefs that are not yours but were handed to you in childhood, through trauma, through culture, through fear. And then you must decide which ones deserve to remain, and which ones must be lovingly released. Without this inner audit, you will always find yourself circling familiar limitations in new costume. Every thought carries a measurable frequency, and every emotion adds amplitude to that wave, either strengthening or distorting the signal. When your internal world is chaotic, your energy becomes scrambled, incoherent, and unreadable to the quantum field. This is why focus is power, and clarity is magnetism, because they refine your transmission and allow the universe to respond precisely. When your mind, heart, and body come into alignment, synchronicity becomes predictable. Reality no longer appears random. It becomes responsive. The body itself is not a bystander. It is the antenna. Every cell in your being is listening, responding, and broadcasting. When you think a fearful thought, your body releases chemicals as if danger were physically present, anchoring that fear into your biology. When you repeat that thought pattern daily, you don't just feel fear, you become fear. You don't just attract low vibrational outcomes, you emit the signal that instructs the field to replicate them. The good news is that this process can be reversed. You can recondition your body to a new mind, a new emotion, a new identity. Through deliberate repetition of elevated emotional states, gratitude, love, joy, you train your nervous system to accept them as baseline, instead of anomaly. When these feelings become familiar, your subconscious no longer rejects them as unsafe. Your body begins to believe that peace is normal, and the universe begins to reflect that belief back to you. Neural pathways begin to rewire. The emotional addictions to anxiety, guilt, and shame begin to dissolve, replaced by new patterns of coherence. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is neurological regeneration. What you feel repeatedly, you become biologically, and what you become biologically, you broadcast energetically. This is why the work cannot remain intellectual. It must become somatic. You cannot think your way into a new frequency. You must feel your way there and stay long enough for your body to believe it's safe to stay. The nervous system doesn't respond to logic. It responds to lived emotional experience. And when you provide it with elevated states, consistently and consciously, it rewires your entire access to reality. Now consider this. Every version of you already exists in the quantum field as a timeline waiting for selection. The courageous you, the healed you, the successful you. None of these versions are future fantasies. They are present possibilities. And your state of being is the key that opens their door. You are not creating a future self. You are tuning into one. Just like a radio station doesn't create the music it plays, but simply matches the frequency of the desired signal, you don't manufacture transformation. You align with it. If you remain in fear, you tune into timelines shaped by fear. If you embody clarity, confidence, and inner peace, you access timelines where those traits are natural, not earned. You are always in contact with one of infinite versions of your life. The choice of which timeline you experience is not made once. It is made continually, moment by moment, emotion by emotion, choice by choice. Each breath, each thought, each decision is a vote for stagnation or expansion, for repetition or reinvention. The universe doesn't respond to what you occasionally imagine. It responds to what you repeatedly embody. This is why presence is power. When you are fully present, you disengage from the gravitational pull of your past. You stop leaking energy into imagined futures and recycled memories. Presence collapses noise. It returns you to the 0 point of creation. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of awareness. In stillness, you are able to observe your mind without becoming its echo. You see the programs without becoming their prisoner. And in that gap between thought and reaction, the new you is born, not from effort, but from witnessing. This is the sacred work. To become so rooted in awareness that no storm can sway you, so aligned in frequency that no chaos can distort you. Not because you've transcended being human, but because you've remembered what it means to be a conscious one. one who observes without judgment, one who creates without attachment. The moment you stop reacting to the external and begin responding from the internal, the architecture of your reality begins to reconfigure. Most people move through life like puppets of their circumstances, pulled in every direction by the strings of unresolved emotion and inherited fear. But when awareness roots itself in the eternal present, those strings dissolve, and you realize the marionette was never you. It was the persona shaped by conditioning. Beneath the reactions, beneath the patterns, there exists a silent witness untouched by narrative. That witness, the observer, is your truest power, for it is the only part of you that doesn't flinch when the world shakes. When you live unconsciously, your perception becomes a mirror of your past, endlessly looping stories that were never meant to define your future. You project old pain onto new people. You confuse safety with familiarity, and you repeat dynamics that feel comfortable but cost you your evolution. But awakening is the rupture of that loop, a quiet revolution in how you see yourself, your choices, and the mechanics of the universe. It is the decision to stop viewing life as something happening to you and start participating as the one who writes, witnesses, and weaves the story. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about shedding everything you were never meant to be. The quantum field holds infinite versions of you, not as metaphors, but as literal energetic possibilities, vibrating at different frequencies. In one version, you wake up filled with dread, reacting to life like a threat. In another, you rise with certainty, attuned to joy, magnetizing everything that aligns with your purpose. The difference between those timelines isn't luck, talent, or fate. It is resonance. Whatever you match internally becomes your external reflection. Whatever you expect at your core becomes the reality that greets you. Your beliefs are not just private thoughts. They are public vibrations. They echo through your posture, your tone, your choices, your very chemistry. You can't fake your frequency. You might say, "I'm ready for success." But if your energy says, "I'm terrified of being seen," the field will respond to the deeper truth. And in that truth lies your work, not to force, not to fix, but to feel and transmute. Transformation is not a straight path. It is a spiral. You will revisit the same fears, the same wounds, the same doubts, but each time with greater awareness, deeper compassion, and stronger tools. This is the alchemical journey, not erasing the shadow, but integrating it, not bypassing the pain, but listening to its message, because every trigger is an invitation, every discomfort a doorway. The nervous system holds more intelligence than your conscious mind can comprehend. It remembers everything, every heartbreak, every silence, every time your truth was dismissed. And when unhealed, it operates from a place of hypervigilance, interpreting opportunity as danger and expansion as a threat. This is not weakness. This is survival wisdom that needs your conscious partnership. Healing doesn't happen by pretending everything is fine. It happens when you feel safe enough to be seen, even by yourself. When your awareness meets your wound without judgment, the pattern loses its power. The memory remains, but the charge dissolves. And from that space, a new signal is born. To shift your signal, you must learn to sit in the fire without flinching, to feel without collapsing, to witness without reacting. This is emotional alchemy, the ability to stay present with discomfort until it becomes information, the willingness to hold space for pain until it transforms into power. Not through analysis, but through presence. You cannot think your way out of a frequency. You must feel your way into a new one. This is why logic alone is never enough for true transformation. Logic will tell you what you already know. Emotion will show you where you still live. And energy will reveal what you're ready to become. There is no shortcut to this embodiment. It requires consistency, devotion, and a willingness to begin again every time the old self resurfaces. But each time you choose differently, you rewire your internal architecture. Each time you pause instead of react, breathe instead of argue, observe instead of assume, you're creating a new self, and that self is what reality will begin to mirror. Every time you choose alignment over reaction, you send a new message to the field. I am no longer owned by my history. The quantum doesn't speak English. It speaks frequency. And the clearest frequency is not perfection. It is authenticity. When you stop performing and start resonating, life becomes fluid, responsive. There is no such thing as too late in the quantum world. Time is not linear. It is layered. Possibilities exist simultaneously, and alignment is what determines which version you step into. The past can be rewritten by how you embody the present. And the future isn't something you wait for. It's something you practice. So, the question is no longer, can I manifest a new life? The question is, am I willing to become the version of me who already lives that life? Not someday, but now. In thought, in energy, in action. Because the moment you do, the field has no choice but to reflect it. The universe does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. Not the mask you wear when you're trying to manifest, but the vibrational essence you emit when no one is watching. This is why affirmations spoken from fear fall flat, while silent gratitude whispered in stillness echoes through the quantum field with unstoppable momentum. Reality doesn't respond to desperation, cloaked in positivity. It responds to the frequency you broadcast with your breath, your thoughts, your decisions. The field doesn't require words. It reads energy, and energy never lies. Many people believe they must become someone new in order to change their life, but the truth is far simpler. They must return to who they were before the fear, before the programming, before the world told them who they had to be to receive love or safety or approval. Transformation is less about adding and more about releasing. What remains after the illusions dissolve is not a lesser version of you. It is the truest one. You don't manifest by thinking more. You manifest by thinking cleaner. 1,000 thoughts will not outperform one aligned frequency. You could journal every goal, script every desire, visualize every outcome, and yet, if your body remains anchored in anxiety, none of it lands. The field responds not to your dreams, but to the energy you hold when no one is watching. That energy is your point of attraction, not your to-do list. Your body is the storage unit of your beliefs, and your breath is the key to unlocking them. The patterns that feel most difficult to release are usually the ones most deeply entangled in your survival identity. When you start to detach from these identities, the body may panic, interpreting the unknown as danger, even when it leads to liberation. This is where most people quit. Not because the path isn't working, but because they've mistaken progress for pain. Growth often feels like loss to the ego. You're not afraid of the unknown. You're afraid of losing the known, even when it's limiting. You're not afraid of becoming great. You're afraid of no longer being who you were taught to be. The fear of abandonment, failure, and rejection is not rooted in truth. It's rooted in unresolved energy loops that have gone unchallenged for too long. These loops are not broken by thinking your way out. They dissolve when you feel your way through. You are not your emotions. You are the space that feels them. You are not your trauma. You are the observer with the power to transform it. You are not your history. You are the present moment where change becomes possible. When you begin to feel your feelings without judgment, you take the first step toward integration. And integration is the birthplace of coherence. Coherence is when the heart and brain are in vibrational agreement, when your desires are not just logical, but also emotionally embodied. In this state, manifestation is no longer a practice. It is a consequence. You don't force outcomes. You become the person they naturally occur for. You stop asking for the life you want and begin embodying the version of you who lives it. This is not bypassing the work. It is becoming the work. You will know you are changing not because everything outside of you looks different, but because your reaction to it does. The triggers will still appear, the noise will still exist, but you will respond from neutrality instead of urgency. You will breathe where you once braced. You will observe where you once defended. You will move with precision where you once scrambled for validation. This is emotional maturity. This is vibrational alignment. This is quantum mastery in motion. Not control over circumstances, but sovereignty within them. Not the absence of challenge, but the presence of consciousness during it. You don't need to fix the mirror, you need to adjust the frequency of the one standing before it. Your reality is not a prison, but a projection, one that bends to match the signal you consistently emit. When you take full responsibility for that signal, you reclaim your creative authority, no longer blaming the screen for the story, no longer waiting for external rescue. This is not about being perfect, it is about being conscious. The moment you become aware of a thought that doesn't align, you have the power to interrupt it. You can speak to it gently, "You are not me anymore." You can thank it for its service and release it with love. This is the art of inner reprogramming, not through violence, but through remembrance. Neuroplasticity is not just a theory, it is the scientific permission slip that proves your mind is not fixed. Every time you choose presence over pattern, you are reshaping your brain. Every time you choose love over fear, you are shifting your cellular expression. You are not changing by accident. You are participating in conscious evolution. One thought at a time, one breath at a time, one frequency at a time. There is no external event required for your liberation, only an internal yes. A yes to possibility. A yes to alignment. A yes to the version of you who no longer negotiates with fear. And the moment that yes becomes your new normal, your entire life will bend toward it. This is the path of the silent creator, the one who no longer seeks proof before belief, but understands belief is what generates proof. The one who no longer asks if it's working, but declares it already is. The one who no longer lives from reaction, but from revelation. The one who understands that the field only reflects what the soul fully accepts. The soul is not waiting for evidence. It is waiting for permission. The moment you stop asking for validation from the world and begin listening to the whisper of your higher intelligence, you enter a different current of creation. That current does not move by willpower or force, but by frequency, flowing through subtle alignment rather than visible effort. You're not here to convince the universe of your worth. You're here to remember it. And in remembering, your signal changes, not because of the words you say, but because of the state you become. You do not magnetize what you chase, you magnetize what you trust. Trust is not a passive surrender, but an active state of coherence, a deep knowing that what is aligned will arrive and what is misaligned will dissolve without struggle. When you trust, you no longer beg life to give you what your energy is silently pushing away. You no longer cling to timelines that your nervous system cannot hold. Instead, you walk as though it's already done, because vibrationally it is. This is not about blind faith. It's about embodied knowing, the kind of knowing that roots itself so deeply in the present that it bends the probability of the future. The kind of knowing that speaks without needing to shout, acts without needing to prove, and loves without needing to possess. True power is quiet, because it knows it cannot be taken. When the observer becomes sovereign, the world loses its grip. You stop trying to predict every outcome, control every detail, or preempt every perceived threat. You step out of survival frequency and into the sacred posture of receptivity, not passivity. Receptivity. You become a vessel, not a victim. You were not designed to micromanage the universe. You were designed to harmonize with it. Your task is not to force reality into a shape you can understand, but to attune your awareness to the version of reality already waiting for your alignment. You are not the puppet. You are the pulse, the signal, the original sound. Your voice is a frequency device. The words you speak create ripples, not just in conversation, but in creation. Every sentence you say about yourself becomes a spell cast into the field. I'm always anxious. Nothing ever works out for me. People never choose me. These aren't casual phrases. They are vibrational instructions. Start listening to the sound of your unconscious mantras. What patterns are you reinforcing in casual self-talk, in inner commentary, in thoughts you've repeated so often they no longer shock you? Every time you identify with a limitation, you rehearse a lower version of your potential. You write code into your reality, using words that never belonged to your soul. But the good news is this: code can be rewritten. Just as neural pathways can be rerouted, so can energetic timelines be revised. You are not sentenced to repeat your patterns. You are invited to interrupt them. The moment you witness a pattern, you have created distance from it. That space is freedom. That space is power. In that sacred gap between stimulus and response, the new you is born. This is the portal where timelines collapse and recalibrate. Not through dramatic shifts, but through micro-choices, through small moments of self-remembrance, through ordinary awareness applied with extraordinary presence. Healing doesn't arrive like lightning. It arrives like sunrise, slowly, steadily, silently. One degree of perspective shift at a time, one layer of false self peeled back, one truth remembered so clearly that all distortions lose their grip. And once the light comes, it stays. You may feel like nothing is happening, but at the level of vibration, everything is. The nervous system is recalibrating. The subconscious mind is opening. The field is reshaping. The timelines are aligning themselves around your new frequency. This is the moment when many people retreat, when the external world hasn't yet caught up with the internal shift. But you must hold the line. You must stay in the new frequency even when the old reality tries to pull you back. The quantum does not respond instantly to doubt. It responds to the energy you sustain. Sustaining the signal means practicing presence even when evidence is delayed. It means walking as though the door has opened, even when it's still invisible. It means choosing the vibration of your future while walking through the shell of your past. You don't wait to feel ready. You decide to be. You don't react to what you see. You respond from what you've chosen. This is emotional resilience at the quantum level. Not resilience that clenches its jaw and endures pain, but resilience that softens into clarity, into sovereignty, into stillness. The world may remain chaotic, but your inner weather system becomes stable. You stop forecasting storms based on historical trauma. You start broadcasting peace from a signal that no longer fears disruption. The longer you remain coherent, the faster the field reorganizes. Coherence is not perfection. It is consistency. Consistency in thought, emotion, and action. Consistency in being who you choose to be, not who you used to be. And so, the question becomes, who are you choosing now? Who do you embody? When no one is watching, when no results have shown up, when no validation has arrived. That version of you, if you remain loyal to it, is the future timeline magnetized. You don't chase it, you become it. And what you become, reality must reflect. There comes a point when you no longer question whether you're shifting, you begin to feel it in your bones. Not because the world outside has changed, but because the way you exist within it has transformed. Your nervous system is no longer addicted to chaos. Your breath no longer shallow from self-doubt. Your thoughts no longer hijacked by fear, dressed in logic. You are no longer chasing alignment. You are becoming it. And in becoming it, you start to see everything with different eyes. That old version of you, the one addicted to urgency, shame, external approval, begins to fall away, not in one grand act, but through 1,000 quiet choices to choose truth over noise, stillness over reaction, presence over performance. You begin to realize that healing isn't the removal of pain, but the resurrection of clarity. You stop running from discomfort and instead meet it with curiosity, like a guardian of your own awareness. And when discomfort no longer terrifies you, reality no longer controls you. All your life, you were told that success requires struggle, that joy must be earned, that peace is a luxury for later. But now you know, those were borrowed beliefs from broken systems. They were teachings rooted in scarcity, separation, and survival, not in your infinite nature. You were never meant to hustle for your worth. You were meant to remember your sovereignty. And in that remembering, the struggle ends. You realize the game was never to fix yourself, but to release what was never you. The guilt, the comparison, the proving, the pretending. All of it was survival strategy, not soul expression. And once you begin living from the soul, everything else becomes weight you no longer need to carry. You stop chasing who you think you should be. You start honoring who you already are. Every quantum leap is preceded by inner stillness, not frantic motion. The most radical transformations don't always come with fireworks. They come with surrender. Surrender not to passivity, but to precision. Surrender to the awareness that you are a participant in a field of infinite potential. And in that participation, you are never at the mercy of the external. You are always creating the internal that shapes it. You begin to realize that time is not your enemy. It is not running out. It is not slipping away. It is responding to the structure of your consciousness. And when you release the pressure of racing time, you enter the timeless space where miracles occur naturally. This is not imagination. It is quantum law. The moment you feel the emotion of what you desire, before it's visible, you collapse the timeline between here and there. And the moment you release the need to see proof, you allow the unseen to begin forming. It's not magic, it's mechanics, and you are the mechanism through which it flows. You stop asking when it will come, and start asking who you must become. Because all manifestation is self-permission. Not, will the universe allow me, but will I allow myself to receive what's already vibrating around me? When you become that level of honest, the illusions drop, and what remains is a life built from truth. The deepest freedom is emotional. Not the freedom to do anything, but the freedom to feel anything without being overpowered by it. When anger arises, you greet it like a storm that has visited before. When fear shows up, you no longer mistake it for a prophecy, you recognize it as an echo. And when love arrives, you finally know how to stay. This level of mastery does not shout, it whispers. It radiates from your energy field without needing attention. It creates gravity, not noise. You become magnetic to everything that matches your peace. Relationships begin to shift, not because you force them to, but because your signal no longer tolerates misalignment. People who used to drain you fall away, and those who nourish you arrive with perfect timing. You are no longer trying to be understood, you are choosing to be surrounded by resonance. It's not about cutting people off. It's about vibrating beyond old patterns. Opportunities begin to appear not as effort, but as reflection. You no longer pitch from scarcity. You receive from alignment. You no longer grasp for validation. You recognize the mirror. This is not passive. This is precision in motion. This is creation as a state of being. Money, health, love, expression, they all become byproducts, not pursuits. They orbit you when you stop orbiting them. You are not here to chase outcomes. You are here to generate states, because states create structure, and structure governs outcome. And still, your ego will occasionally whisper, "Is this really working?" But you will smile, knowing that's the voice of an old timeline trying to survive. You'll respond not with panic, but with peace. Not with proving, but with presence. And just like that, the voice fades. Because nothing speaks louder than alignment. Nothing moves reality faster than inner coherence. You don't need to prove your worth to the universe. You are the universe, remembering itself through a human life. And when that truth lands in your body, the search ends. This is what you came here to learn, that you are both the observer and the observed, the wave and the collapse, the question and the answer. You are the breath between past and future, the pause where all possibilities live. The work now is simple. Maintain the signal. Trust the frequency. Embody the truth. Reality doesn't shift when you force it. It shifts when you observe differently.